This is going to be an update video where I compile all the information we've learned in the last few days. The video I uploaded officially says it was uploaded on the 5th. It is the 7th. Everything's more clear as more information comes out. Today, his dad, who sponsored him in December, Christmas time 2019, to get a gun license, even after a previous September of 2019 occurrence, where he became a family annihilator threat to them, and there was a report done as him being a clear and present danger. And before that, he was apparently suicidal and self-confessed drug addict. How many things do you have to disqualify yourself? And his dad apparently is not wanting to take any responsibility at this point. How old was he at the time? Are you legally responsible? July 4th, 2022, via a ladder attached to the building. He got on the roof of the Ross Cosmetics located either at something Central Avenue or 2nd Street, Highland Park, Illinois. 10:14 a.m., he fired a legally obtained Smith Wesson M&P 15 approximately 83 times, that's from the casings found on the roof, in 3 volleys from 30-round magazines he had available. While in drag. 12 were injured, 25 were shot or more, 7 were lost at least. Later, he was tracked down by the description of his 2010 silver Honda Fit and or plate number and or other methods. He was captured with a Kel Tec SUB2000 rifle. It's a fold-back rifle where the barrel folds back, and it's essentially a pistol design converted over to or originated as a rifle. It fires pistol calibers, 45 caliber all the way to 9mm or whatever. He was on his way to Wisconsin to do another mass shooting with that piece of crap. No offense, but yes, the longer rifle barrel makes the 9mm or the 40 Smith & Wesson faster or whatever. Anyway, he also owned 3 pistols. He could have just bought a... Anyway, opinions aside. He has the following tattoos. 4 tally marks with a line through them, the number 5 and tally marks on one of his cheeks. A 47 tattooed on the same side of his head, not another number. In cursive script, the word awake over the other side of his face, over the eyebrow. Red roses and green leaves wrapping around his neck. None of this is the symbol for something you want it to be believed. The 47 is probably in reference to a character from a video game. The rest of it is just about him being a rapper. He had other tattoos on his hands as well. The symbol for his channel, for his rapping, was a knot, a specific knot type, and it's called a Bowen knot. It's referenced in many, many forms, in many places. It doesn't have any specific meaning unless you want to assign one, which means you're reading into it. In one video, I heard 30 of the shots echoed as 10, a break, and 20. Or it was 20 and 40 for 60 total if there was a binary trigger because of the staccato sounding of it. But that's from only one recording. Since he fired from what would have been potentially 90 shots and fired 83 times, I don't know. We'll find out later. The police department described this very conventional AR-15-like knockoff as being a high-powered rifle. They're not telling us what cartridge type. You can look up the firearm and find out what other things it can be chambered in. You can chamber an AR-15 platform or AR-15 clone firearm in pretty much any cartridge you can come up with. So them saying high-powered sounds a lot like the police department not wanting to admit it's yet again another AR-15 incident. And again, he was going to use a fold-back, oversized long-barreled pistol that was configured essentially together to be a rifle to go to another location to shoot up someplace else. Or not. He's confessed to all of this shit, so let's stop it with anybody who wants to defend his opinion or existence. He had a Spotify that was still active at the time of me doing the video, as well as an IMDb page. His 2 Twitter accounts last posted 2021 in the middle of summer or at the end of it in September. Any postings after that point are on web pages or whatever that I couldn't find, and or were already redacted because the police department had seized the accounts. Even the archives don't show anything really. For being a person who's trying to be famous and now has become infamous, that was his intention, I think. He really didn't have a lot of people archiving much about him before this incident. I don't think anybody really cared about the guy. I think this was done by him to get attention and to be infamous. I don't think he was suicidal at the time after he did it because he didn't really... He was sitting next to a firearm. He could have shot himself. A blogspot archive was set up by a person called Reilly, not by him. So he doesn't have a blogspot in spite of the fact that Heavy.com says he does. High-velocity rounds similar to an AR-15 and other bullshit statements by the police department, specifically Joseph Corvalli, while still refusing to specify what rifle it was and calling it a high-powered rifle when the people who were shot with essentially a conventional AR-15, unless otherwise noted. If they said it was chambered in something unusual, fine. I'm betting at this point it wasn't, and they're just full of shit. Why do cops who should know better do this? I don't know. Let's move on. The Wayback Machine and Archive.org itself, as well as Google, are now redacting images that are searched for. Data. Anything about it that clears up any kind of questions you have. So I don't blame anybody for coming to the video with questions and no answers. No, he's not a member of Antifa. Until it shows overtly that he was. You can't see him on the internet much anymore. Archives, however, do show a YouTube July 1st channel, but it's not his at all. Very likely never was his. He had a YouTube channel, probably with a custom vanity URL like some of my channels had. I'm pretty sure they were available at one time, and I actually found them at one point, but they're all gone. He basically just uploaded videos until 2021 September. That's it. Basically dropped off the map in most of the places I can find. He lived with an uncle, Paul Crimo, his Mormon alt therapy mom, Denise, or not, but that's what was reported about her at the time, and his Republican-ish dad, Bob Crimo II, who is the idiot who helped him get firearms a while ago. Again, if somebody says they're going to commit suicide and then threatens their family with death, don't sponsor them to get access to firearms. And then later on say, I'm not responsible. Yes, you fucking are. Anyway, the shooter had cosplayed as Hitman Agent 47, which may or may not be related to the number 47. I doubt that it has any other references, and had a 47 on his car door as well, and on his face. He's an isolated stoner who completely lost touch with reality, and had threatened to murder his entire family, is a family annihilator, had been suicidal, and was drug-addled. I think there's enough qualifications to say he shouldn't have been allowed to have access to a firearm. And having a relative of his, whether he's a Republican or not relevant here, sponsor him is bullshit. I don't regret getting him access to firearms, the idiot father said. Really? Really? You fucking idiot. You stupid motherfucker. Assertions that he was part of Antifa are based on him wearing dark clothing, lying about his tattoos, and noticing that he had two-color hair. There's no sign he was part of Antifa or any leftist thing at all. He was mostly neutral. He was trying to sell himself to people by being a rapper, becoming famous, and avoiding controversy except where it would benefit him. Obviously, he decided to shoot up people to become famous because for the last year or so, he'd found out that he wasn't becoming famous fast enough. He ran into a brick wall trying to become famous as a rapper. He wrapped himself up in a Trump flag, actually a Trump banner. He attended Trump rallies for whatever reason. And no, this doesn't matter any more than him using a Bowen cross or Bowen knot for his rapper logo. That could have been from the Finnish far-right organization Sumo Sisu, and he also called his Discord channel SS, which may have been reference to it. Might have been a joke. Might have been completely unrelated. You know, it could have been related to sound system. We don't know. Or the Bowen knot and or Bowen cross could have been just a random emblem that was cool looking. The one he used specifically was used by a family in Wales. It's a family crest symbol. In fact, that's usually listed as its main origin story. But because he had a relative that may or may not have been conservative, we still don't even know this, by the way. And because he demonstrated his only political affiliation seemed to point to Trump, immediately the right wing starts crying Antifa without any evidence and screams that he has to be a plant by the Antifa. Because that totally says you're completely sane and deserve to have rights like firearms or to vote or to violate my rights by somehow rigging an election in some states by saying that no matter which way the people vote, the legislature just gets to pick Trump anyway now. Yeah, this is the side you want to be on in history. And again, it doesn't matter what his political affiliation is or if he had one or if he was just fucking with Trump. It doesn't actually matter because what he did was he shot a bunch of people to become famous because that's all he wanted. Besides to kill his family or kill himself or be drug-addled or whatever the hell his problems were. He's a fucked up human being who did something fucked up. Hell, he could have changed political affiliation several times in the last few years, you don't know. His mom and dad could have been Republican and then the other one Democrat or vice versa, we don't know. But the reactionary right wing has to scream Antifa because they're terrified because he looks the part. And if he didn't look the part, if he was totally neutral, they'd still scream it because it involved a gun. And the police department did not say it was an AR-15 style rifle that he shot them with. And he was on his way to someplace else with basically a long-barreled version of a pistol design that was made as a rifle for the meme value. It's a highly compact firearm that you can use pistol cartridges in, and it's a survival rifle, and it's a truck gun, and they're very conventional firearms. No country would define either of these as high-powered rifles. I want an explanation from the fucking police about that bullshit statement. They usually assign that to military-style weapons, so I guess an AR-15 is always going to be high-powered, even if you can load it with, no shit, 22 short. You can get a version that fires 22 shorts. It's a conversion kit. The police said it was an unmodified firearm, but I heard what sounded like a binary trigger. Or it was emptying about half of the cartridges he had with him, and it wasn't echoing. Or it was echoing, I can't tell. And again, the police are going to sit around and hem and haw and bullshit and meme it all to death, and then eventually admit, yeah, it was a pretty conventional thing. He got an AR-15 and shot people. It doesn't matter that it wasn't really an AR-15. It's a clone of one. Because the copyrights and patents are all wore out, so people can make all of them they want, including you and me. What caused this? The shooter. He was suicidal, drug-addled. He was probably using drugs to try to compensate for whatever's wrong with him. People do that. Some people are drug addicts because they use that to self-medicate. But we don't know. Did anybody make an effort to find out what was going on with him? He threatened to murder his entire family. He's a family annihilator. Instead of annihilating his family and keeping it limited, he decided to shoot a bunch of people in the streets during a goddamn July 4th parade. And his dumbass dad sponsored him around Christmas time so Johnny could get his fucking gun. You dumb motherfucker. And then he has the audacity to say, I won't take responsibility. How old was his son at the time that he needed his dad to endorse this? If he was under 18, you are responsible, you motherfucker. And if he wasn't, you had a duty to not help because you knew he was a fucking threat. Backpedaling your responsibility. Stupid motherfucker. But yeah, the police bullshitted about the firearm when they clearly could say, yeah, it's an AR-15 conventional. Unless it was chambered in something bigger. Okay, what cartridge? At this point, until they tell us the cartridge it was chambered in, if it's anything really, really unusual, fine, but I doubt it. I'm curious if it had a binary trigger because that was my first guess. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. I'm blaming his dad because he deserves